Thanks for being here. Welcome to this session. This session is about new powerful tools we built into Windows 10 to help you streamline and simplify deployment of Windows 10 devices. And you may ask yourself, why exactly Microsoft did that? The answer is simple. I think we know how many of you feel about deploying large number of Windows-based devices. And this is what we know how you feel. Right? Why? Because it's going to be complicated and require more images and take a lot of time and expensive, and you're probably going to hit compatibility issues. We heard all that. Now, please raise your hand if any of these concerns resonate with you. Yeah. This is why we have this session. And then you probably think, is there a way? Is it possible to do it in a less painful way? And the good news is that with Windows 10, the answer is yes. So hi, my name is Vladimir Holostov, and today we're going to talk about new features we built into Windows 10 to make your life easier and help you with deploying any number of new Windows-based devices. This feature is called Runtime Provisioning, meaning that devices get provisioned in runtime versus imaging time. You don't have to create images, and it has 5 major advantages. It has much more, but 5 major. You can configure new devices without re-imaging. That's right. You can grab a device off the shelf, apply what we call provisioning package, I'll explain that later, and have the device configured without re-imaging. Yes, it will do edition upgrade as well. The mechanism is consistent across platforms. It will work between mobile and desktop. You can actually reuse the same configuration that you built. It doesn't require network connectivity. And it's simple enough to be used by the employees. Another piece of good news is that it's fully compatible with all the solutions that we currently have in place. If you use a CCM, you can continue using that. If you use MDT, we're not taking away any of the goodies you currently use. We're just giving you a new tool that will help you in many of these scenarios. Now, if that all sounds too good to be true, let's take a closer look and find out how really that works. So, when the provisioning can be used in many ways, in many scenarios, but there are 3 scenarios we recommend thinking about. First scenario is configure a device in deployment where you don't have centralized management at all, meaning that you don't have MDM, you don't have a CCM, any of these, and you still want to have your device configured. Another scenario is where you want to automate enrollment into MDM, Active Directory, Azure Active Directory, and do that in bulk. Third scenario is where you actually want your users to enroll using their credentials, but you want to ensure that device is configured, secure, and compliant before the user takes care of actually enrolling that, because they may forget, they may fail at that. Different things might happen, but you want to make sure that the minimal set of compliance settings, like device encryption, device lock, updates, antivirus, and so on, are configured even before device gets into management. So how that actually works? Let's find out. You can use a new tool that's called Windows Imaging and Configuration Designer to create something that we call a provisioning package. Provisioning package is a bundle of settings, profiles, and file assets. One good example of setting would be simple toggle, on-off setting. Encryption is on, antivirus is on, certain things that you may want to restrict, like some of you might want to disable the camera and so on. Profiles would be Wi-Fi and VPN profiles, and assets would be any files that need to be part of that configuration. For example, certificates, applications, wallpapers, images, any of that kind. So you use this tool to create this package. Now, how this package gets on the device. There are 3 ways to think about. 1, you can apply a package during first run experience. First run experience is what you see when device boots. All you need to do is to tap 5 times, actually not necessarily you, it can be the end user or employee applying this package. 5 taps on the home button opens a special menu. I'll show you it later. and then the package can be provided on removable media or NFC on mobile devices. You can also apply this package during runtime, simply clicking on PPKG, that's the extension of we assign to provisioning packages, or you can drop the provisioning package onto the device in device stage through USB tether. There is a third way, which is embedding the package into the image in case you want to create a persistent sticky configuration. So if imaging is still an option, what you can do is to put this package into the image, flash this image, and this device will boot and consume this provisioning package every time it's restarted, every time it reset to factory settings. Sorry? Okay, good. So let's take a closer look how that would work. This is the first run experience on mobile. 5 taps on home. Yep. Opens this screen. This screen is essentially hidden from the typical, consumer flow. So people deploying. This screen is not visible unless you hit home 5 times. That's what I want to say. It will list the options for provisioning the device. In this particular case, we have NFC and removable media. Let's say we want to do NFC. It will open another screen. We're waiting for a different device or NFC tag that contains the provisioning package to be tapped to this device. You can also choose the removable media option, and it will present you all the packages available on removable media. During runtime, you can simply click on PPKG or go to Settings, Accounts, Provisioning, under Settings. Do exactly the same thing as in first run experience. Third way, the mobile device tethered to PC. Just drag and drop the package on device icon, and it will trigger the prompt on the device side to accept this package and have the device provisioned. Doesn't matter how exactly the package got into the system, it will show up under Settings Provisioning. Now you can see 2 packages installed on this device. One is configures, I believe it configures the pin length, and another configures bulk enrollment. Users can view details of these packages. They can also delete this package. If deletion of provisioning package is allowed by the policy, you can disable that. And if the package gets deleted, it removes everything that it brought to the device. So if it applied certain profiles, settings, certificates, and so on, these things will be removed from the device the moment package gets deleted. Now, I was showing mostly mobile screenshots. The only reason for that is that it's small and fits nicely into presentation. The UI is absolutely consistent between desktop and mobile. Here's one example. Here's how the screen looks on desktop. Here's how the screen looks on mobile. So you will have exactly the same experience on both. Now, what can be provisioned? You're probably asking. Quite a few things. So these are only major groups of settings and customizations that runtime provisioning allows to configure. Most of these things can be controlled through mobile device management. And I want to especially highlight several things that are very important to streamlining mass deployment. First thing, edition upgrade. No more need for imaging. You can perform upgrade to Enterprise Edition during runtime by applying a provisioning package that contains the key. This is how you get out of imaging business if you want to. Another thing is initial setup. You can configure computer name. You can configure an application that will be launched immediately after first run experience. You can suppress first run experience if there are certain things that you don't want the user to see, or certain choices that you don't want the user to make. If you noticed, Windows 10 first run experience asks the user who actually owns this device, and then takes him down to MSA, Microsoft Account Flow, or Azure Active Directory Flow. You can suppress this question so the device is will be enrolled into Azure Active Directory. This feature also allows you to configure local accounts with specific usernames if local accounts is what you want to have configured. Now, previously it was possible to set these things through unattend XML, as you know. This mechanism allows you to do that without unattend during runtime, without imaging, and it also allows to accomplish that on both mobile and desktop devices. Obviously, there is no concept of user accounts on mobile, but things like device name and control over first-run experience are important for both platforms. Management enrollment can be automated. You can accomplish bulk enrollment into MDM with credentials or certificates using a provisioning package. You can initiate domain join, and you can initiate Azure Active Directory join. But one thing to keep in mind is that provisioning package is supposed to be generic, so you will need to use sort of a system account to accomplish that. What else can be provisioned? Universal applications. You can include line of business applications signed with a company certificate, store apps with volume purchase license, or so-called business licenses. And it's also going to be possible to remove undesired applications from the device using a provisioning package. So you will need to specify that such and such apps pre-installed by OEM you want to have removed. When the package is applied, this application will go away. Win32, obviously desktop only. It will support deployment of MSI packages. You can also craft a script manually that executes sort of a headless setup if the application supports headless setup that does not interact with users. And you can execute Powershell scripts. Do you like this? Excellent. Thank you. A few words about what happens under the hood, how that thing works. In the foundation of this feature lies a layer of so-called configuration service providers. These providers help to control different aspects of operation system. Each and every subsystem has a configuration service provider. One example would be Wi-Fi, certificate management, restricting policies, applications, and so on and so forth. Mobile device management, provisioning, and ActiveSync client can interact with these configuration service providers. The key difference to mention is that MDM and Exchange ActiveSync are bidirectional, so there is interactive conversation going on between the server and the client. The server can set the policy and also check what's the current status of the policy. Provisioning, by its offline nature, is one way. You create a provisioning package, you apply it on the device. You can extract logs if you're working with the device. We'll talk about troubleshooting later, but unless there is centralized management, you don't really know what happened with the device when a provisioning package was applied. Security, quite an important topic. The packages can be encrypted to protect sensitive content. In some cases, you will want to include service accounts, you will want to include certificates, maybe some documents that you want to distribute, and some of that, obviously, you will want to encrypt. The tool that is used to generate provisioning packages can also encrypt it automatically, generating passwords to prevent passwords like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And when the such package is consumed, the user will be prompted for a password, and the package will be unencrypted. Digital signing is also supported. Normally, when a package is consumed on the device, it presents a warning that says, hey, you got a package. Please make sure that you know where it's coming from. And here's the list of things that this package will configure. Now, if the package is digitally signed and the signature is trusted by the device where it gets installed, when the prompt will not be present. It will be hidden from the user, and the package will be consumed silently. The only trick is to get the device to trust your certificate authority, and for that you need to install at least one package on the device, and then the consequent packages can be installed silently, essentially suppressing. You can also set a policy that says that only signed packages will be accepted on the device. Or you can lock down provisioning completely and essentially disable this feature altogether through MDM or provisioning. In terms of management, there are several policies that allow you to control this feature. One policy can be used to disable manual deletion of packages in a case you want to create lockdown configuration and make sure that users cannot mess with that device. Then you can set this policy and the user will not be able to delete the package. You can also set a policy that prevents factory reset. You can prevent installation of unsigned packages if you don't want users to install anything on their own. And you can prevent installation of any packages to lock down this system completely. The package can be updated by simply installing a new package with the same ID. Each package has a GUID and a version number. So installing essentially the same package with updated content and higher version will update the content inside that package. There is also an option to keep the packages when resetting a device. So when device goes into factory reset, it will ask a question, do you want to also remove provisioned content? If you click that, it will remove the packages. If not, the packages will stay. Everything else will be reset to factory settings, and the packages will be consumed again when device reboots. And that is quite helpful in troubleshooting scenarios, like device is misbehaving, you're not sure what to do, you don't have IT on staff in this particular branch. You just tell the user to reset the device, but keep the provisioning packages. When it comes back online, it's configured again. Troubleshooting. This is something we recommend doing when you build a provisioning package for the first time that will be used on any number of devices. Build it, apply it on one device, see what happens. If it doesn't work according to expectations, then what you can do is to collect logs using FieldMedic on mobile or Windows Performance Recorder on desktop, and then you can analyze these logs using Windows Performance Analyzer. All these tools are available in Windows ADK. Now, let's see a quick demo. Oh, I'm sorry, this computer fell asleep. So let's start from the beginning. What I'm going to show you is the Windows Imaging and Configuration Designer. And we're going to pick a package that is already built. Now, in case you're not familiar with this tool, it's quite simple. On the left side, it has all customizations available for the edition or SKU that you're planning to manage. For example, connectivity profile, certificates, and clicking on a certain node allows you to configure this setting in the middle, and then it goes to the right where you see everything that is part of this package. So in this particular package, what we have is an instruction to set up a computer name. The computer name will be initiated to Fabricam PC and then followed by random 5 digits. User accounts, certificates, there is a root certificate, well, actually it's a Microsoft corporate root certificate. Wi-Fi settings, Wi-Fi count, edition upgrade with super secret volume license key, some document that we want to deploy, that's a new employee tutorial, and some policies we want to set concerning update settings. Now, we can add more stuff from the left side if we choose to. For example, we can decide to disable telemetry if this is what we want to do. Now, we're building this provisioning package. No, we don't want to encrypt it. Package is ready. It's available here. And now let's see how this package is getting consumed on a new device. So Device boots. Let's assume that this is actually a device that was taken out of the box. It goes into first run experience. It's a desktop, as you can see. Now we got the first screen of first run experience. What we're doing here is tapping home button 5 times. That presents the prompt. Do we want to set up this device? So if somebody got there by mistake, they can easily exit and continue the so-called consumer flow of the first run experience. But let's say we want to continue. We have removable media option because there is a USB stick with provisioning packages attached to this device. We click in next. The question was what are available options for provisioning a PC device. Currently, it is removable media only. We're looking to add additional mechanisms shortly. And I'll be happy to take all of the questions once we're done with this demo. So here are the provisioning packages we have on the stick. Let's pick one that's called New Machine Deployment, PPKG. Next, this is the security warning. Yes, accept. And device consumes the package. There will be an animation going for quite some time. We can probably skip it and speed it up. Now, some operations require restart, like setting computer name or changing the edition. That will happen automatically once the provisioning package is processed by the machine. So, wait for it. Wait for it. Here we go. The machine restarts. And when it boots up again, it is fully provisioned with everything that we included in this provisioning package. Let's take a closer look. First, let's check out the package. As we said, it's under Accounts, Work Access, Provisioning. Here's the package that we installed. Here's the GUI I mentioned. And here are the list of things that this package brought to the device. Here's the computer name, Fabricam PC followed by random 5 digits. Edition upgrade. The system is now Enterprise. It installed 2 applications, Fabricam Finance, Fabricam Manufacturing. And a root certificate that we included. Yep, here it is. This mechanism supports any types of certificates, including client, root, CA, trusted people. So it's pretty flexible and powerful. And we also deployed a PDF document that's called New Employee Tutorial. Here it is. Now, we got this machine fully configured using the provisioning package consumed during first run experience. Now let's see what can we do during runtime. As you probably noticed, this machine is not yet enrolled into management, so let's try to enroll it into MDM. Here's work-like access. You can see that this machine is not yet connected, so this list is empty. Now, what we can do is to add a new package. bulk MDM enrollment. Yep. Go ahead, now we're going back to workplace enrollment to see what happened. And the machine is automatically enrolled. Now, it was possible to make this instruction to automate enrollment part of the initial package. It's totally up to you how you want to use it. You can create one mega package that has it all. You can create multiple packages that people will use according to circumstances. It's perfectly flexible. But now what happened here is we have two packages. Yep. And you can see details. And it's also possible to remove any of these packages because we did not set a policy that disables removal.
What happens if there are settings in both packages that are for the same item?
The question is, what happens if there are conflicting settings? You probably mean in both packages. The conflicts are resolved according to a parameter that we call altitude. If I go back to the package creation, as you can see here, on the final screen of the Windows Image Configuration Designer, that's actually right there, you can say what entity creates this package. It can be Microsoft, Silicon Vendor, OEM, System Integrator. And the only meaning of these things is the rank, relative rank of the package and how exactly it's going to be processed. So for example, everything that IT admin configures will trump and override any settings lower, meaning that if Microsoft decided to include certain package with some default configuration, that it can be easily overridden by any of these players, with IT obviously being on top because this is the ultimate authority that controls the device. Even within the IT group, we have a notion of rank. So you can decide to create multiple packages, and by assigning the rank, you can decide what package prevails. All right. So now we have a provisioned and enrolled device. Let's go back to the deck and talk about typical use cases. So typical use cases. There are hundreds of scenarios and use cases that we can talk about, but here are just some examples how you can use provisioning. One case is setting up a device for a new employee. This is pretty much what we saw in the demo. Such a package would include edition upgrade, setting up a computer name, company root certificate probably, Wi-Fi, domain join with service account, or MDM if this is what your company uses, and then some sort of a jumpstart application that the employee can use to decide what additional applications he needs to install, unless you want to be very explicit and provision specific applications onto this device. The distribution mechanism can be USB stick. And another scenario we can think about is configuring a mobile device to be used as a point of sale or inventory terminal. Pretty much same set of customizations, device name, edition update, Wi-Fi, probably more security policies, quite likely complete UI lockdown that will allow to use only one specific application on that device, and obviously the line of business application that actually implement this point of sale or inventory experience. And this package can be applied through USB tether. As we saw, you just plug this device to a PC, create a package, drop it on the device icon in the device stage, the package gets applied. You can also put it on NFC. With NFC, we have two options, actually. One option, if the package is small enough, it can fit into actual NFC tag. By the way, you don't have to include all the assets, as we said, remember, the application, certificates. Some of these assets can be referenced by URL. So they can reside on some local server, and the package actually only includes a profile to Bootstrap Wi-Fi connection, and then it will pull these assets from this location. You can also provision a bigger package for NFC. For that, you will need to use a second device that runs NFC provisioning application. We'll make it available shortly. And this application actually consumes the package and sends it over NFC to the device you want to provision. That is very helpful in so-called IT-less branches, in locations where you don't have IT on staff. And any responsible adult can follow simple instructions how to get device up and running. Let's say one device fell somewhere and broke down. They can just cross the street, grab any generic device from the store, get to you shortly, and have it provisioned using these instructions. Yes, please.
Does it integrate the Office 365 user license?
The question is, does it integrate Office 365 user license? The pre-installed version of Office can be used with AD credentials, so as long as device is enrolled into tenant that is licensed for Office 365, that will activate. So yes, you can essentially automate bulk enrollment to AD. Device becomes part of the AD tenant, gets the license. So another scenario you can think about is configuring a BIOD device. Somebody comes to your organization, he has an own device. He's not so sure about enrolling into management. Maybe you do have MDM, maybe you don't. Maybe you have MDM, but they are not sure about committing their device to your management practices. One thing you can do is to build a provisioning package that includes things they need, like line of business applications, maybe Wi-Fi and VPN profile, and bundled with some security policies. Now, the beauty of it is that they can remove the package to get rid of the security policies, but it will also remove the profile that is bundled. These things are coming together. So as long as they have this VPN profile, they're subject to security policies that you applied, like encryption, minimal pin length, and so on. And it's quite easy to distribute this package. You can simply publish it on the company website or send it over email to anybody who needs it. Another scenario is creating a persistent configuration by simply embedding a package in the image. So let's say that you have a tablet that is used on the manufacturing floor, and in that case you can simply create a package that provisions all these things, and it's a part of the image. So every time this image is reset to factory settings, the package is consumed again, device is up and running. So, to conclude, it's a new powerful tool that we built in Windows 10, and we realized that this is the first release, and we are committed to evolving that tool going forward. Now, to continue evolving that, we need your feedback. So please download the imaging configuration tool. Work with that. Not every single feature that I demonstrated here is available right now. It will become gradually available as we get closer to RTM. And please share your feedback. Now, questions, and I expect many questions. Yes, please. The question is, do we have anything about enabling BitLocker? Essentially, there is a policy that says that controls device encryption state, and I believe the configuration provider is enabled by BitLocker technology. The only question in that particular scenario is how exactly the keys will be escrowed, and the answer will depend upon the state of this device. Is it domain joined? Is it enrolled into management? So I believe it will be possible to just enable encryption or force encryption on the device for that matter. But if you want kind of full experience, that includes key escrow, you will need to make sure that device is also enrolled into some sort of management. Yes, please.
So a big thing if we wanted to do a CYOD is to remove all the bloatware that all the manufacturers love to install, such as like an Office trial. But we don't necessarily know what that would be unless we just choose one system. So does it have a heuristic way of saying, hey, let's remove everything that wouldn't be part of a standard Windows install?
I think everybody heard the question. It was so loud. Unfortunately, the answer is no. It's, strictly speaking, this is not a technical problem. It's a business problem. There is no way to tell, that this piece of OEM installed software is essential and this piece is, bloatware. It's impossible to tell between them. So to accomplish what you just asked is you will need to craft, an individual package for device type and say that on this device type, this is what I want to have removed. So. Yes, please. Yes, please.
You said when you remove the package that it rolls back. What about an edition upgrade? So we've upgraded you to enterprise.
Edition upgrade stays. The question was, what about edition upgrade? When you remove the package, will it roll back the edition upgrade? No, it will not roll back the edition upgrade. The edition upgrade sticks on the device. Yes, please.
So to supplement to that, what about if you have files that get copied down, will it delete those files? And if you're running PostScripts and PowerShell, does it try to back those?
The question is, what about backing up things that were customly implemented by PowerShell scripts or copying files? As you probably guessed, the answer is no, because there are no limits that people can do with custom scripts. We're not trying to roll this back or keep exact history of what exactly happened. I believe the list that we mentioned is limited to settings. So if there was any sort of restriction applied on that device using a provisioning package, that will go away. If there are any certificates, applications, like modern applications, the universal applications installed, this will go away. Everything that is a custom action by the user will stay there. Yes, please. Yes, sir.
With that, I know you didn't cover it, but I just want to know if we should restrict what drivers are added into the package or what applications.
Can you please repeat the question? I'm not sure I got it.
US-17 has a command line switch to create a provisioning package. And one of the switches is drivers. Can we specify which drivers are pull, like video or hard drives or something all?
Yeah, the question is, what about drivers, and can we specify what drivers go into the package? The thing is that this tool that I demonstrated, the Windows Imaging Configuration Tool, can be used to create images and provisioning packages. This session is focused on runtime consumption of provisioning packages. What can you do without imaging? It still does not allow to install drivers. So drivers is a different flow that's imaging. Yes, please.
So questions, you said it's not capable of doing everything today, and as it gets closer to GA, more features will be added. Can the existing product manage mobile devices right now, or is that with the version of Windows 10 for mobile that's out there or not?
Yeah, the question, what can be done today? Yes, it can manage certain aspects of mobile devices. I believe it can manage all of the policies, certificate management. I don't have the exact list, and I'm not keeping.
But it'll run on the latest build of Windows 10 for mobile, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And second question, it seems like the best experience would be just to enroll it in, use this to enroll it in MDM and then use MDM for anything else. Is that a bad workflow?
No, the question is it acceptable to build a package that just enrolls the device into MDM and MDM takes over? I think it's a perfect workflow. I think if you have MDM, this is what you're supposed to do. And then you're building a package. That's actually I believe the first scenario, second scenario that we mentioned in the showcase. You build a package that bootstraps bulk enrollment, you enroll the device, and then you manage it going forward. Yes, it's perfect.
I've got two questions. One of them will be a follow-up. If the first one is not, do you have an enterprise track of managing these packages? And if not, will you have one in the future?
Can you please clarify what do you mean by enterprise track?
An enterprise path of managing these packages. If I put a software on a machine in my enterprise, I want to be able to manage it. So if I put it out on my production floor, right now I use SECM.
Oh, I get it. Yes, we do have plans to expose so-called provisioning CSP. So remember, I was talking about configuration service providers. One of these configuration service providers eventually will be provisioning. And that will allow MDM or any sort of centralized management to query and potentially delete provisioning packages installed on the device if it wishes to.
So you're talking about MDM. What about SCCM? Will that be something that's thought about being added to SCCM?
We're looking into that. Thank you. Yes, please. The question is it possible to roll packages for policies? Yeah, through group policy. But for that, you will need to have the device domain joined in the first place. And if your device have domain joined, then probably there are many other things that you can do. The short answer. I'm not entirely sure how that would work, but can we meet after the session? I will be happy to chat with you about this. Yes, please.
So let's say you have you use a provisioning package to enroll a machine into MDM or on-prem AD. I'm concerned about the computer names. Is there any functionality to avoid getting duplicates? Like you use the random. That would have to be.
Yeah, I say
really
actually random is not the only thing that we're planning to support. We're also looking into supporting a model where it's a prefix or with or without prefix followed by random number or serial number if it's a PC or MAC address if it's a mobile. So we'll support different schemes, and I believe that sufficiently long random will be good enough.
Yeah, it would be long names, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But yes, we're looking into several models to avoid such collisions. Who's next? Yes, please.
Yeah, we might end up asking the same question here, so if I do, I apologize. You showed briefly that you have the ability to configure Wi-Fi profiles with certificates and things that you need to connect to that wireless infrastructure. What if a company was using an 802.1x type authentication for wired LAN access? Any ability to configure wired LAN profiles and provide certificates for that as well?
I will need to check. I'm not quite sure.
Okay, because our company is an example of one that's heading in that direction to control physical port access on the wired network, and it'll be important to us moving forward. So appreciate it.
Can we shout after this session?
Sure.
Thank you. Yes, next question, please. Anybody? Yes, please.
Can you talk, this sounds like it's going to be replacing the unattended XML during builds. Can you talk toward that? Because I read something that they were talking about in future versions unattend won't be there. This is the replacement for it.
I'm not quite, okay, the question is it going to replace unattend? I'm not quite sure we're ready to make this statement. As I said before, we're not taking away any of the mechanisms that are currently supported, because we know that it will cause a lot of pain to many customers. Yes, it replicates some of unattended capabilities, obviously, but I think this will continue to coexist for quite some time, and you can choose what you want. You can continue using, actually you can use runtime provisioning in imaging scenarios by simply embedding this package into the image, or you can use unattend. It's completely up to you. We're not taking anything away. Yes, please.
I thought I heard in another session that we could load the PPKG on a network share, and then when the user logged in through Azure AD, it knew where to go based on their login and install from there. Is that in the plans to do that?
This scenario, yes. The technical implementation, not necessary. What we have in plan is that when somebody enrolls into Azure Active Directory tenant, his device can be automatically enrolled into MDM. Now, the effect will be essentially the same as what you described, but the underlying technology is not provisioning package. It's a full-blown MDM enrollment.
Okay, thanks.
Deployment of provisioning packages will be supported for Config Manager SP1, R2, or vNext, or What's
Yeah, the question is in what versions it will be supported. This functionality will light up in Windows 10 and will continue enhancing mechanism and continue growing the management surface, like what can be managed through consequent updates. Yes, please.
Very helpful. I'm curious if there is another session touching on the imaging aspect specifically.
Imaging aspects?
Yeah.
I will need to check. I don't really know.
Okay.
I'm
Thanks.
the runtime guy. Anybody else?
If the MDM enrollment, will that work with just with Intune, or will that work with other?
The question is, will MDM enrollment work with Intune or anything else? Everything else, like any MDM of your choice, any MDM supported by the platform, and we hope to support them both. It's a more question if they support us versus we support them, because we provide a fully documented generic interface that any MDM vendor can take advantage of.
Would you be able to replace built-in antivirus with Microsoft's? So say if it came with Norton or some other antivirus on the OEM image?
Sorry, I understand the question about antivirus. Are you saying that if the question is it possible to replace OEM antivirus with the default one?
Yes, with the different one, or with Windows Defender.
Yeah, the thing is that the default one is not going anywhere. I mean, the Defender is the integral part of the operation system.
Right.
So it's not getting actually uninstalled no matter what.
Right, but a lot of antiviruses have Windows Defender disabled, and
Yes.
Would it be possible to remove?
Yeah, so 2 pieces here. Yes, it will be possible to craft a script that removes the OEM solution, and we have a policy that controls Defender behavior. So I believe it will be possible to re-enable Defender, assuming that the OEM is playing, nice, and that they didn't do anything crazy to disable it.
Okay.
Like actually removing the binaries. Yes, please.
Another quick one. If we decided to use this for provisioning corporate-owned devices, any options, or I didn't see it in the feature set of the current release of the product, but any options to, I guess, brand the system lock screen, system startup screen as a part of this? Because doing it manually is kind of annoying.
Oh, the question is about controlling the default lock and default background screens. Is that
Exactly,
correct?
yes, sir.
I'm not quite sure if it's coming right on RTM, but this is obviously something that we're looking into. Like we just want to focus on bigger problems and then attack the smaller stuff. But yes, definitely we're going in that direction. Yes, please.
Is your team specifically working with your legal or marketing or whoever does the kind of OEM relationships with Microsoft and all the OEMs to work on kind of maybe expanding the Microsoft Signature series in order to enable us to use this more easily?
I'm not necessarily the right person to talk about this, but I can give you a short answer, yes. We definitely look into that, and we're doing several things. First of all, we're leading by example. All Microsoft hardware is coming in the cleanest shape as possible. And actually, we're starting to see positive trends in the market. We see some OEMs actually follow the lead. We also have programs where OEM hardware is offered with a clean installation of Windows. Another thing that you can take advantage of. So yes, we're definitely working on that. Anything else? Yes, please. The question is the 5 taps in first run experience restricted to first run experience? Absolutely, yes. You need to be on the very first screen of first run experience to unlock that option. Once device went for first run experience, there is no way to get back there. And besides, we have policies to control what and when and how can be provisioned. So if you just want to reduce the attack surface, you can disable this feature altogether, and nobody will be able to ever install any provisioning packages. All right. Yes, please.
Can you elaborate on how much this is going to work on Windows Iot Core?
Fully. The question was about support for IoT Core. Yes, IoT is one of the supported editions. The management surface obviously is going to be slightly different, but whatever they decided to expose to be controlled for runtime provisioning will be, and we're working very closely with that team on lighting up their specific scenarios. So yes, absolutely. Anybody else? Yes, please.
In the mobile session on provisioning, they mentioned that the application removal feature of the packages would only work if it made it sound like only work if the vendor allowed it to be removed via package. Is that?
If the question is about removal of OEM pre-installed apps for provisioning packages, so you said if who allowed to that?
If the vendor had allowed it to be removed via package, otherwise it restricts something. That might have been just on mobile.
Yeah, the question is, do we need essentially vendor's permission or vendor to do something to allow a package to be removed? I don't believe so. I believe that pre-installed applications can be easily removed. OEMs have an option to ship so-called kind of second-party components, like enhancement to settings experience and enhancement to camera experiences. These cannot be removed. But everything else, like applications that you decided to drop there, this can be removed quite easily.
The version switching, is that just Pro to Enterprise, or could you go to like an embedded SKU or something lower?
I don't believe we're ready to disclose the full matrix of all transitions possible. Enterprise upgrade is absolutely there. Everything else, I think, we just need a few more days to finalize and make it publicly available. Yes, please. Yeah, go ahead.
So in the widget screen, you showed a group like IT admin, owner, so forth. What controls, or does that even control what options somebody can go off and select there? Like, what would prevent me to always choose IT admin because I want to make sure that my package is always ran and operated?
Absolutely nothing. I mean, whoever builds the package and whoever controls the device can, fully. Essentially, the question was what prevents somebody from presenting itself, essentially building packages on IT admin's behalf. The answer is nothing. Whoever builds the device can configure it any way he wants. Is there a specific scenario, a specific concern, a specific player you're concerned about? Or it's a generic question?
Like, for example, if I was trying to be malicious, right, and I wanted to go off and create packages that tweak configurations, IT admin can set the associated policy with 1 to 3 provisioning pack, and then I can come in using the same IT admin option and basically override that.
Yeah, the scenario is that somebody malicious creates a provisioning package that overrides the setting that admin has created. Provisioning by itself is a very powerful mechanism. Essentially, it's similar to having admin access on the machine. And by the way, to consume packages during runtime, you need admin permissions. So you won't be able to install the package unless you all the admin on this machine. And if you're all the admin on that machine, essentially all bets are off. You can configure anything on that device.
So if it's not a security mechanism, what is Microsoft's purpose for having that little drop-down option for being able to select levels of priority?
Yeah, the question is, what's the purpose if that's not a security mechanism? So yes, you're absolutely right. This is not a security mechanism. That's absolutely correct. The purpose of this mechanism is to help resolving potential conflicts. Again, potential, I'm not quite sure we'll have any, between things that we as Microsoft decide to include in the image. There might be some packages that are embedded in the image and essentially hidden from view that will control things like dynamic kernel power settings. Just something that all devices need, right? Now, if OEM decides to implement something different, if they think that they have a better opinion, they know better how to control power on this particular machine. They can build a package that controls exactly the same stuff, but overrides whatever we put in there, and so on. And then there might be some system integrator who comes into play and says, well, I want these devices to be running 100% of time and 100% of CPU. That's okay. They can do that. Yes, please.
Is there any plan to make that package compatible with like Windows 8, Windows 7 server?
Is it about down-level support? Is it about down-level support, like supporting packages on?
Yeah, can you create packages for older OSs if someone tried to?
Yeah. The question is it possible to create packages for older OS? Unfortunately, no. We're planning to support this only on 10 and going forward. Yes, we're not going back. Yes, please.
You need to provide admin credentials when you just need to set the Wi-Fi using one of the specs? Or if it's signed, do you then still need to do that?
The question is about using credentials when you apply a provisioning package. So are you talking about the credentials inside the Wi-Fi profile or something else?
Well, yes, sir. Yeah, Wi-Fi credentials inside the profile. So typically what a user would still need admin credentials?
Okay, so the package that is consumed on mobile, there is no concept of admin at all, right? If the package is consumed on desktop, then during UBI, it can be consumed without any passwords because essentially UBI, the first run experience runs with system permissions and can configure anything. If it consumed later, then you need admin permissions. Now, if you're asking about the credentials inside the profile itself, then you have several options. If your company or the branch uses simple authentication like PSK, then you can just include this pre-shared key inside the profile. If it uses personal credentials, then what you can do, you can just leave these fields blank and just create the profile, and when somebody tries to connect, he will be prompted for his personal credentials. It's quite flexible. Yes, please. No, I think we're good. Thank you all. Thank you.